Let's talk about some important things to consider when choosing a real estate farm area. So there are certain important things that are needed in order to pick a particular farm area. Let's so first off, expertise, right? Choosing a farm area for real estate leads close to a home that's easy, close to your home is easier because you already know the ins and outs of the neighborhood. Yes or yes? This is the most common. This is the most common, but not always the best option. Because if you didn't analyze the absorption rate and what you're chasing, then that's an issue, isn't it? Choose a real estate farm area where you've got name recognition. Hello, RE/MAX. Hello, RE/MAX Edge. If there's a ton of signs that say RE/MAX and a ton of signs that say RE/MAX Edge, why would you not farm that area? Why would you choose an area that you're needing to build up? So choose an area where you already got the name recognition. Now, RE/MAX is a powerful brand. Okay, and if you're working in another company, you can use that brand, of course, but choose a farm area where there's a lot of signs, where there's already a lot of pendings. Use data to know that, or use data to understand where that is. So if potential leads already know your name or know the company's name, because you're then of course they're more likely to reach out to you when you send them something in the mail. Yes or yes? They're more likely to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to call Bob. I'm going to call Susie. Because I've heard of RE/MAX. I've heard of RE/MAX Edge. Oh my gosh, I see signs everywhere. I've got to call. Okay, number 3, your real estate farm should have no more than 500 houses. Now, I understand a lot of people want to be big wigs, including myself. I did the 1,000 postcards to the farm. I did 2,000, and that's okay. But what I'm a believer of is smaller to start, by the way, to start. If you're already built out, then yeah, you might be already on 1,000 or 2,000, but those 5,000 postcards out, it's just hard to manage and it's hard to gain consistency around the messaging to those properties. Remember, the narrower your audience is, the more personalized and therefore more effective your messaging could be. For your first real estate farm, we recommend at least 250 homes or less. Remember, consistency is key. And I'm assuming that when you're looking at 250 homes, okay, you've already pulled the data. You're not 250 randoms. Let me give you an example real quick. We talked about absorption rate. We talked about turnover rate. What about how long somebody owned a particular property? Because if they owned a property, if they just bought a property in the past 3 years, I don't care if you're in Staten Island or Brooklyn or Queens, if they own a property in the past 3 years, what is the likelihood of them selling, okay, in the next 12 months? Probably slim. Yeah, there are some outside cases where they bought it, they weren't happy, job relocation or something like that. So when you're building a farm, why waste the money? Let's call it $1 per postcard. Let's keep it simple. And let's say you did 500 houses and 10% of those houses were purchased in the past 3 years. That's $50 per month you're mailing to people that are highly unlikely that they're going to sell. So if you do a 6-month campaign, times $50, that's $300. If you do 12 months, it's $600. And if it costs you $600 to do 1 month, you just got a free month by eliminating people probably not likely to sell in the next 6 to 12 months. Lead with data. Be proactive. And of course, number 4, as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, choose a real estate farm with homes that sell. If the market is cooling down, move the boat somewhere else. Move the boat somewhere else. If you're just getting started, move the boat to a place that things are selling. Don't be the hero. You're not going to change the market. If the market's slowing down, then guess what? Unless you've got a bunch of cash and you're going to change the market by doing other things outside of, you're not changing a market. If it's slowing down, it's slowing down. So choose a real estate farm with homes that sell. Spend some time researching on your MLS and make sure the neighborhood you're considering for your real estate farm has homes that are likely to sell based on your local market conditions. That's why it's important to check out the town hall videos that we've been doing, and the state of the market videos rather, sorry, with the data. And learn also how to pull your own data so you can build these farm areas. So defining your farm area. Once you've picked your real estate farm area, then the work of research and understanding everything you can about the neighborhood begins. Equip yourself to connect with residents of that area. We're going to be taking deep dives into how to get yourself ready to communicate with people in that particular area. We're talking about even co-ops and condos, my friends. Guys, you could be farming a co-op building. It's insane, personally for me, for those that are dealing with co-ops and condos. I mean, it's insane. It's probably one of the most under-farmed types of properties. But it's actually beautiful because people talk in a particular area, don't they? I'm sorry, in a particular building, right? So if you're a neighbor on the 5th floor, you're probably talking to the neighbor across the hall, downstairs. It's just like, it spreads like a fungus. If you're mailing stuff to people and there's a listing already in that building, I mean, it's just unbelievable how much opportunity there is with these buildings. But people are probably not consistent. They're overthinking the mail out. Oh, there's some special message. There's no special message. It's called get the freaking mailer out. That's the special message. Let them know that you're there to serve the customer. Let them know you're there to serve the customer. So here's the research. One of the things I mentioned before was about co-ops, right, and condos. So if the average person sells their co-op or condo in 5 years or 7 years, why are you not starting with that first? Do some research. Why are you not starting with that first? Why starting with something else? But let's talk about houses as well. Are there geographical elements of your farm area that are going to affect its saleability either as a whole or in part? For instance, are there homes in your neighborhood with private frontage or bodies of water, right, or near highways or service roads, or maybe there's a community beach access for the whole neighborhood? Is there major highways nearby? Is there a fantastic new grocery store on a block that everyone's talking about? Okay, Forbes has written about how just living near a Whole Foods can boost your home's value, right? Is there a Trader Joe's? What's coming up in the neighborhood that's going to create turnover? Hello? If we're fishermen, we're fishing, right? We need to know where there's going to be turnover. Because where there's turnover, there's transactions. Where there's transaction, there's commissions. Stop trying to be a hero. Everyone wants to be the local market expert. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go out there. Find where the fish are biting. And then settle up, farm the area, chum the waters. So if you see something coming up, some new development coming up, that might be a good area. If you want to get ahead of the farm and you're starting to see some turnover. So make a list of all the geographic features that will affect the sale of the property. How many people would have guessed in Staten Island that below Highland Boulevard would be on fire? Probably almost none of you, because I worked right around Hurricane Sandy, and I remember properties where just nobody even wanted to touch them. Some of those properties that were selling for $150,000 now worth like $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. How would you have liked to farm those areas, and then people started listing the houses with you? You would have got a boatload of things, right? But you would have got ahead of it. Make a list of all the geographic farm features. Oh, sorry, I read that. These are things that residents of your farm live with every day. If you want to be the neighborhood real estate agent, you've got to know about them. You gotta know what's going on. So defining your farm area. So here's the property research, guys. There's a couple of things that are in the slide, and there's a couple of things we'll be talking about off the slide. Okay, once you spend time learning about the landscape of the neighborhood, it's time to learn about the properties themselves, including lot size. Like, what's the typical property? Is it on a 40 by 100? Is like, do you know, for example, did you know that most two families, I want to talk about semi-detached, let's talk about Benson's for a second, semi-detached 4-bedroom over 3-bedroom, semi-detached private, semi-detached shared drive, okay, what size are they? Are we talking 20 by 55, 20 by 2050, 2060, sometimes even almost close to 20 by 68? I guess you can tell I've done some research before because I knew the market, some of the markets have sold, right? What does a house in 10314 look like? Do you know what is a single family house? What's the size? So if you went into Diker Heights, for argument's sake, what is a single family house in Diker Heights? What's the median price point? If you don't know, then you're not doing the research. But Mike, I've been in the business only 6 months. Yeah, and are you spending some time doing research? So let's talk about Diker for a second. Single family houses in Diker Heights. Single family semi-detached, what's the size of them? Semi-detached, most common one, 14, 16, and 17 footers. 3-bedroom duplex, 3 bedrooms over the living room, the dining room, kitchen, and then you got usually some finished basement, some unfinished. Semi-detached shared driveway, yes or yes? Price points today, $950, $1,050,000, right? Know your areas, know the market you're working in. What's the typical home style? What's going on in those areas? Home dimensions, the features, what are they? Did they have a second bath? Did not have a second bath? How big is the backyard? Are there pools there? Are there what's going on, right? So identifying the baseline for these items is also helpful in finding the outliers, the neighborhood homes that are unique and don't fit the typical mold. Having the insider knowledge on these homes is a huge advantage when you've got a buyer in mind who wants to be in a particular area but doesn't think the homes will support their needs. Right? Isn't it true if you knew other areas? Let me give you an example. So I remember years back, I took a family to a property, and it was a really small house, a corner property. They contacted me about a corner property. It was actually only a 14 by 35, pretty small house on a busy avenue, but it was a corner property and it was a nice side yard and backyard. They saw the house and they were totally disappointed. The price was in line with what they wanted to spend, but they were disappointed. So after speaking to them, interestingly enough, what I found out is actually they were looking for a really, really big yard. So they liked the fact that it had a yard. They didn't like it was an avenue, and they wanted something a little bit bigger. Boom. I told them what's a little bit bigger, and guess what? They found it. Within a very short period of time, they found it. Okay? And that's the key, guys. I found it. It was only maybe 2 more homes after that. They found the home that they needed.